right, so yesterday I read from chapters 4 to 7, and then for the rest of the night and during the day today, I was just thinking about everything that we have gotten up to the big incident that a lot of people jump out of the series for. And I want to do a bit of a recap and maybe give my thoughts on it. I also went and watched an interview from Stephen R. Donaldson. I'd never even heard him speak, and then, man, it really does reveal what he is trying to do with this. Any other writer, in 99 books, you would get to this moment in the chapter with the incident, and it does seem like maybe this is going to be Thomas's great breakthrough sort of thing. Changing for the better, pulling himself up and doing something great. Like it seems like Lena's just being built up as this most amazing friend to Thomas Covenant, and then tragedy hits. And so, how amazing, like if we don't even have to go through all the scenes that bring us to that point to understand that Donaldson has set up, he's getting targeted. His heart is being targeted. Thomas's heart's being targeted by this police car. And so as he's within this fantasy land, it seems like still his heart and a sense of despair, the mental aspect of it, is what is being targeted. And so as he's going through these chapters in this other land, he is always, he's responding to things that are happening. And he meets this Lena, and he shows up, he wakes up on this Kevin's watch, which looks like a finger pointing at the sun, which is interesting considering the old man that was looking at the sun. And it does seem like it's going to be so hard not to jump around for this recap because there's just so much to talk about. So forgive me there. When I think about the land, the fake world, right? And then the real world, it does seem like both of those lands are real, but that Thomas Covenant's real world and his mental state does still have a real effect on the land in a way or something. I mean, it totally could be internal. And I don't know. But we find this Lena, and they slowly go down Kevin's watch, this tower. And she sees that he doesn't have two of his fingers and thinks it is Beric half hands, or like a coming again of Beric half hand, as is like a prophecy within these stone wielders. Beric half hand, if you forget, or if this is your first time, he is the grandfather of Kevin, Lord Kevin. And so, he was the great foe of Lord Fowl once upon a time. And Lord Fowl, he once was on the council, and there was this war that happened, and a number of things. We have instances of that happening, and then a desolation happening at, Kevin trying to goad Lord Fowl into releasing the minions and stuff like that, but it was just too much for them. And he was almost laughing watching this all happen. And now Thomas has this mission, he has this message to give to the council that that is all coming again, and this time it will be the end for the land. And it's awful, awful, awful. So let me just flip through some of the pages, but I do want to get back to some of the main points, especially when we get to chapter 7. Kevin's watch, when he wakes up from talking to Lord Fowl, he has this feeling of the sunlight. And remember, he has this dual thing with his feeling biological nature and being an intellectual person, right? An intellectual being versus his feeling being. And his heart is the one thing he wants to hold for himself. He doesn't want to give that up, you know? So he finds Lena there, and she's pretty and sweet and kind, about 16 years old. They go slowly down this the staircase, and she will say things every so often, and he will respond negatively. And she'll ask if she has offended him, which is ridiculous because she's just amazing in these first chapters, and she's full of life. And we have early instances in these chapters that he is trying to make sense of what's happening, and he's come to terms with the feeling that this is all a delusion or a dream. And the best way through it is to kind of passively go along with it without offering much resistance. Be very inactive. And so a lot of what we're going to hope from him is that he does take action in some ways, but often when he does, and we'll find in chapter 7, when he finally snaps and takes action in something, it's awful, and it's motivated by a seething rage. So they keep going down. He is all scraped up, and she tells him more about the land and how there are magic regarding woodworking. Even though they don't have the magic of the woods, they have magic of stones. And what she does is so interesting. She lives in this stone. She lives in this community where all these people basically do group hugs, and they have their houses, all their doors are faced together. It seems like the most Ned Flanders style kind of community. They don't ever cross the river, at least most of them don't. And so she goes around and she tries to find stones that have a certain shape in them. She's not looking for certain shapes, but she's waiting to see what the land will offer up to her as a shape, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So she's always kind of visually looking around and seeing what is I don't know, there's something poetic in that she's not looking for anything. She's not going to chisel rocks away and certain things. She's just looking for what the land is giving to her, and it's almost like that's her artwork and her creativity. It's her spirituality or whatever. And so we go back down, and he desperately needs to wash his scrapes off and things. And so they go down to the river, and he's washing his hands, and he has scrapes on his knees and his shins. And she brings this hurt loam, which, of all things, the infection is going to be deep. You have little bits of dirt everywhere. And she brings this hurt loam, and he almost can't believe that she's even considering like putting dirt all over his scrapes. That seems like the worst thing you could do. And he doesn't trust it, and she just does it. She just sticks them on his legs, and immediately he feels a sense of euphoria and certainly relief, and he offers his hands out. And this is the first time I think you kind of sense that even though it might be a delusion even though he is considering it a delusion and a dream, the feeling is still euphoric and positive, and so he's going to offer his hands, dream or no, to get more of that feeling. And remember, feeling is the thing that is in question, it seems like, so much here. So whether it's real or not, by pursuing that kind of feeling, isn't that sort of the bane of a leper? Like it just, you shouldn't be dwelling on what you might have or could have. And this dream delusion is certainly that. This idyllic sort of area, or this community, even though it has a terrible prophecy against it, or whatever, or message against it. So he gets fixed. He gets fixed, and his hands have some feeling, and he just can't believe it. And let's see. I do want to just skip ahead so we can get to chapter 7. I hope that you've read it. I'm just looking in chapter 4. Oh, yes. It says this about her. I walk the hills and search out the shapes of rocks and pebbles. And when I discover a form that I understand, I take it home and find a place for it, balancing or interlocking with other forms until a new form is made. Isn't that sort of cool? And they do talk about it more, which is pretty cool. Let's see. He says this, with how great she's been to him, he's kind of taken back by it. He says, "You've been decent to me, and I haven't had to put up with that for a long time." That's where his mindset is. He hasn't had to put up with people being decent. Easier if people are just nasty to him, because then he can just be nasty back. And she can't even believe it. Like, she doesn't know why he would be upset for being nice to him, right? And as the reader, we're hoping that he can get out of this cycle. Let's go into number 5, chapter 5. I don't know if there's a ton I want to get to, but there is some. That's where he's needing to clean his hands. This is where the hurt loam is. So I've already talked about this. That's great. She's very sweet to him. And it should be noted also before we get to chapter 7, just in case I forget. Thomas, he does have these feelings that he's entertaining a little bit as he's looking, he's looking at these girls at the pharmacy or whatever, the department store, and now he's noticing Lena. And I mean, it is something to be said that he isn't acting on them at this moment, even though he's like, entertaining that and kind of feeling annoyed that he will never, get to have that sort of thing again. And certainly these are minors, which makes it kind of an extra odd elements to it. But when we get to chapter 7, it's when there is this seething anger behind it that he's trying to attack a number of things. And I hope I remember that when we get there, but just in case I don't, it seems like he's attacking Lena and the town, but more than anything, I get the sense that he's attacking the heart of anything that he can. He's attacking the heart, like if he thinks it's a delusion, it's almost like he's attacking his own subconscious that is mocking him. And everything that has come along, like he's found this great community that seems to be taking him in. They think he's this barrack half-hand return sort of thing. And people have been kind. And he just gets a moment of being reminded of Joan, thinks he's being mocked or feels guilt and self-loathing. And his anger is a cover up for his fear and self-loathing and a number of things, and he just lashes out. And so that's a crazy moment, because this community that he finds of stone whatever, uh the dad, like, if a clay pot breaks, he has the they can put it together, and he can put some of his spiritual magical essence, whatever, that kind of drains him, and he can make the pot whole again. And it seems like within this community, they have the same sort of sense, where if anything breaks, if there's an accident or something, we can fix this. We can fix this together. And they have this oath of not hurting one another, and this very idyllic sort of community. But when Thomas does this to Lena, he is striking at the heart of this community. And certainly the Thomas covenant pot is being broken in the eyes of Lena, in the eyes of the community, if they find out, in the eyes of the reader, maybe even another pot among many in the eyes of Thomas Covenant himself. That might be the biggest one. That is the point of why Donaldson did that, is for what it will do within Thomas himself for having acted upon something like that. And there may be some denial by Thomas for a long time. We don't know when or what kind of breakthroughs will happen. I've only read this first book. And certainly to me, I've put some of the, there are aspects of Thomas where I'm like, okay, he did the right thing there, but he's still done terrible things for this. He has not redeemed himself with what happened to Lena. And for the rest of the time we go off with Thomas, we're thinking about Lena. We're thinking about this other community. And so I think that's the point of what, it had to be something terrible that Thomas would do. And so that's why Donaldson did that. Whether or not, I think most people would not, we aren't in that mindset where we're just going to get offended by every little thing, but we do know people like that, right? And so if he's so angry with his self-conscious, with his own situation, and he just wants to do the worst thing, thinking he's going to wake up, and also thinking he has this thing going on where he keeps thinking about his impotence, and thinking that maybe this land, even if it's psychological, maybe it will re-spark things, when he wakes up, and then he'll at least have that back. And it's a terrible chapter. Like, it seems like it's going towards something, and you're always on a knife edge if it's going to go for some kind of breakthrough therapy sort of thing. Like, Lena very much is asking him these questions, trying to get to know him. And she's great. And she opens up to him saying, if I was of age, I would be betrothed to, I can't remember, some guy in the village who seems great, but is not really for her. She would rather go and try to become like a lord and learn from them, and has this other life ahead of her that she wants. And that makes, reading some of chapter 2 or book 2, this is going to be an amazing trilogy. I did want to go back and see some of these breadcrumbs, but then he asks about marriage, or she asks about if he is married, and this kind of takes him aback because he doesn't want to think about Joan. Whenever he thinks about Joan, he takes offense to this, and then I'm skipping a lot of what has happened in the lore and things. But I think this is important. I think this is the important bit. Um, sorry, I'm just. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of lore in chapter 6, but I want to talk more about this chapter 7. Like he's going and he's listening to this amazing song from Lena's mom about Barrack Halfhand. And I was considering going through that all very deeply, but I don't think I will. But it has to do a lot with the heart as well. So if you read that, I would take note of the heart and this king and queen and the usage of despair throughout the book, but certainly with that and man, Barrack. Okay, let me get back to Lena. Sorry, this is going all over the place. He just can't take it anymore. Everyone thinks that he is this returning of Barrack Halfhand, and with the returning, it kind of rests on an edge within the prophecy where he might do the perfect thing and redeem or save everyone, or he could be basically the pin that is, the final straw to really push things towards ultimate desolation. They don't really know which way it's going to go, it seems like. And so he's kind of bothered because he's decided that he's going to be an inactive player in his own life in a lot of ways, except for the things that he wants to guard in his heart and kind of take ownership of his own life. But he's not going to go out to help anyone. Don't ask anything of him, because that's just going to frustrate him. And now he's showed up into this amazing community who thinks that he has come to help them and save them. And so he has this thing. First, that frustrates him because don't ask him. The next thing is, if it's a dream, why not? Why not play along? Maybe, who knows how things will turn out in the dream? Maybe I could play out as this Barrack Halfhand sort of guy, and I could do some great. Who knows? If it's a dream, why not? But it just gets too much, I think, and he wants to leave. Lena wants to take him away to find a quiet spot where he can be. They cross this bridge that most of them don't go over because they're freaked out about these mountains. And he asks, let's see. We can do a little bit of a dive into this. It's just too much. He's just overwhelmed. And she asks if he is not well. He says, "No, I'm not well. Nothing well. And it hasn't been since the divorce." And so we think, yes, he's finally opening up. Finally opening up. This is going to be at least some sort of minimal step towards some kind of healing for the guy, or positive something. And she says, "I know a place where you can be alone." They go to this place. He considers, like, why not? Maybe I could be this Barrack Halfhand to them. And she asks if he is married, and that takes him back. She tells him that she has someone that would marry her, but he doesn't want to do that. Rather, I would go to the Loras rat as Atiaran, my mother, did, and I would stay and not falter no matter what trials and lore put upon me until I become a lord. It is said that such things can happen. Do you think so? Forgot to mention those little berries that you eat. Like, this place is amazing. Um, and he was just pacing in agitation when she said that, enraged and undercut by the unwanted memory of Joan. But she didn't mean that. And then he asks, how do your people marry? And this story that she says is the most romantic marriage it's the most romantic thing you've ever heard of this couple. Her parents. She talks about her parents, how actually, let me just read this. In an uncomplicated tone, she said, "It is a simple thing when a man and a woman choose each other. After the two have become friends," and just remember as I read this, this is the thing that sets him over the edge. After the two have become friends, if they wish to marry, they tell the circle of elders, and the elders take a season to assure themselves that the friendship of the two is secure, with no hidden jealousy or failed promise behind them to disturb their course in later years. Seems great. Then the stone down gathers in the center, and the elders have the two in their arms and ask, "Do you wish to share life, in joy and sorrow, work and rest, peace and struggle, and make the land new?" That's a part of the oath, the marriage. The two answer, "Life with life. We choose to share the blessings and the service of the earth." For a moment, her star-lit voice paused reverently, and she went on. "The stone down shouts together, 'It is good. Let there be life and joy and power while the years last.'" And then she goes towards her parents' marriage. "The marriage of Atiaran, my mother, with Trell, my father, was a bold day. The elders who teach us have spoken of it many times. Every day in the season of assurance, Trell climbed the mountains, searching forgotten paths and lost caves, hidden falls, and new broken crevices for a stone of Orcrest, a precious and many-powered rock. For there was a drought upon the southern plains at that time, and the life of the stone down faltered in famine. Then on the eve of the marriage he found his treasure, a piece of Orcrest smaller than a fist, and in the time of joy after the speaking of the rituals, he and Atiaran, my mother, saved the stone down, while she sang a deep prayer to the earth, a song known in Lorsrat for long forgotten among our people. He held the Orcrest in his hand and broke it in the strength of his, with the strength of his fingers. As the stone fell into dust, thunder rolled between the mountains, though there were no clouds, and one bolt of lightning sprang from the dust in the hand. Instantly the blue sky turned black with thunderheads, and the rain began to fall. So the famine was broken, and the stone downers smiled on the coming days like a people reborn. What a story. My marriage day did not have like me calling forth a new era of bounty for all the land, but that'd be cool. That'd be cool. And I wonder if this is at least, if this community is at least informed by Thomas's subconscious in some way. What do they represent? It seems like they are representing some nerve, some heart, some good that he doesn't want to face, or something. It's just crazy because it really, really touches a nerve, the ultimate nerve. The next thing is, though he clenched his legs with all his strength, Covenant could not master his dizzy rage. Joan, Lena's tale struck him with a mockery of his pains, like a mockery of his pains and failures. He leapt up, dashed towards the river. As he covered the short distance, he bent and snatched a stone out of the sand. Springing onto the promontory, he hurled the stone with all the might of his body at the water. It's just an anger and a rage. And he said, I gave Joan a pair of riding boots for a wedding present. Riding boots. You know, he's just insulted by how amazing their marriage gifts were and things. And he just, like, there's nothing wrong with riding boots, Thomas. There's nothing wrong that you did that. Okay? And he's not like, her story is not about you. But we have people that will do this. We know a lot of people, certainly, that will do this, maybe not to the extreme of Thomas, but he is a manifestation. Like, we are supposed to, Donaldson's purpose is for us to recognize maybe that something of us in how Thomas is twisting this. Lena arises and moves towards him to comfort him. She asks what happens to his wife, or what happened. She's gone. How did she die? Not her, me. And again, it seems like it's still not too late for Thomas to get out of this scene somehow in a positive way. It's like it's therapy time. And he's thinking of this area. It's real. That is reality, fact. The kind of thing that kills you if you don't believe it. Thinking of the real world, and he decides this is a nightmare. I do not believe it. And then Lena's offended by that. Because who knows, if it is real, what an insult. But he has decided this is a nightmare. And what do you do with nightmares? You run or you fight. She says, I do not believe it. It may be that in your world, but the land, the land is real. And he says, are you trying to drive me crazy? And who is he really asking that? To me, he would be asking Lena, the subconscious creation, the creation of his own subconscious. And he just starts to she starts to notice that this is not a safe situation and becomes chilled by him. And he whirls around and strikes her. This 16-year-old girl that is just amazing. And that alone, it crumbles your pot. If you still had some shards intact about Thomas, that's a major crack in that pot, and it just gets worse. And I'm not going to read it, but you can, he takes advantage of her in the worst. She thinks he's going to kill her. And he rends the fabric. It says he rent the fabric like a veil, her clothes like a veil. And symbolically, the veils, marriage veils and things. It's that kind of a symbolic separation until marriage, like a purity between. So that has been taken away, and she feels it. She even says this gift, that something that her people thought of as a gift had been torn from her. And she screams during it. It's terrible. He forces her down, and I don't even want to read that. But it's dark. And here's the dark thing after he does that. But Covenant did not feel like a taker. And he talks about he just is in a total euphoria during this while she is having the worst experience that's going to break her. And he's not having that experience. Like he's in this delusion where he's so mad at so many things and so hurt and so fearful, whatever. But he's just having this euphoric moment at the expense of this girl. And he's not, not even shame. No shame involved. And so that's when a lot of people want to just throw the book. But Donaldson does this intentionally. Abruptly, his head became giddy, unbalanced, as though he were peering over a precipice. So, maybe finally snaps out of it. He wakes up, he thinks he remembers when she got up and left. And there's blood. And abruptly, his head became giddy, unbalanced, as though he were peering over a precipice. Remember, heights are one of his big fears. He thinks probably, oh no, what have I done? It seems like. Even if not consciously, he knows there's this new weight on him. And a lot of the great books, allow characters to do an awful thing, and it's about that weight. It's about that weight. Like, what, he does have, this is the Chronicles of Thomas Covenant. He does have a whole life to go through. So how is this moment going to fit in with any sort of good things he may do afterwards? Knowing that Lena won't be the same, and there will be consequences both inside of Thomas and out, and far beyond that. But I think the thing that is most being pursued by Donaldson is the psychology of what that will do within Thomas, even if it takes a while to get there. If I had to guess, even if we don't get all of the weight of that in this book, I have to believe that it's coming. Man, wild. He wasn't acting on this stuff before, even though it was kind of weird. But when the anger and the spite and his breaking point, that's when that crime is terrible. So this is a big psychological examination of anger to the maximum level, and to do that, he made this very broken individual. This, we can hope for changes in his attitude while not justifying or forgiving what he has done. But we can still hope that there is some kind of rehabilitation in the guy, and we just feel for Lena. Like the sweetest character you'll ever read about. He heard nothing but the long lament of the river once she left, saw nothing but the ashes of his burnt-out passion, left nothing but the dampness of the rock on his cheeks like tears. Whoa. Wild, hey? So that's a big incident. And so I want to know what you have to say, or what you think about those chapters. I know these are long. I don't think the next videos will be, though. I don't think the next videos will be. I'll try to cram in multiple chapters again, but we had to talk about that incident in detail, because that's the big one. So thanks again, and I'll talk to you guys later.